In just 6 minutes, prosecutorial precision destroyed everything. Patel didn't expect real legal expertise. Raskin didn't expect blatant stonewalling. Cameras caught the systematic obliteration. Congress watched institutional lying collapse. What did Jaime Raskin ask that made FBI Director Kash Patel claim he couldn't hear before triggering the most devastating legal destruction in congressional history? November 10, 2025, 3:45 p.m., room 2141 of the Rayburn House office building. The late afternoon light streamed through tall windows as America's most experienced federal prosecutor prepared to execute the most systematic legal dismantling ever witnessed in congressional testimony. Congressman Jaime Raskin walked in like a federal prosecutor who had spent decades building airtight cases against institutional corruption. Behind wire-rimmed glasses, his eyes burned with the controlled intensity of someone who had perfected the art of using simple questions to expose complex lies. A chamber buzzed with routine tension as Republican members prepared to support Patel through standard political theater. Democratic members shifted with anticipation, knowing Raskin's reputation for transforming oversight hearings into legal seminars that left witnesses intellectually and professionally destroyed. In the gallery, federal prosecutors and legal scholars recognized they were about to witness something unprecedented. A sitting FBI director, facing off against someone whose prosecutorial experience far exceeded his own and who possessed the systematic questioning skills to expose institutional deception. Director Patel Raskin began, his voice carrying the measured authority of someone who had spent decades prosecuting complex federal cases. I want to ask you a simple question about the Epstein files. Patel leaned into his microphone with practiced bureaucratic deflection, expecting routine political questioning that could be handled through standard evasion techniques. At exactly 3:45 and 23 seconds p.m., Raskin deployed the perfectly binary question that would begin Patel's systematic legal destruction. Does Donald Trump appear anywhere in the Epstein files? The question was prosecutorial perfection. Binary, clear, impossible to misunderstand. Trump's name either appeared in the files or it didn't. No bureaucratic complexity could disguise such a simple factual inquiry. At 3:45 and 26 seconds p.m., exactly 3 seconds after the question, Patel delivered the response that would become legendary in congressional hearing history. I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? That chamber fell into stunned silence as everyone processed what they had just witnessed. Patel had claimed he couldn't hear a question that had been delivered clearly directly into his microphone in a silent room with perfect audio equipment. Raskin's response carried the controlled fury of a federal prosecutor who had just witnessed obvious perjury. It's not a complex question. Does Donald Trump appear anywhere in the Epstein files? At 3:46 and 12 seconds p.m., 46 seconds after his first evasion, Powell compounded his mistake with an even more obvious lie. I didn't say it was a complex question. I just didn't hear you. My apologies. The excuse was transparently false. Microphones were open. The room was silent. Raskin had spoken directly into his microphone, and the stalling tactic was visible to everyone watching. But Patel had walked into Raskin's systematic trap. Under prosecutorial pressure, Patel finally provided the admission that would destroy his credibility. We have released that President Trump's name appears in the Epstein files, and we've released everyone else and all credible information that we're legally allowed to release. At 3:47 and 5 seconds p.m., exactly 2 minutes after his stonewalling began, Raskin deployed his prosecutorial's expertise to expose Patel's legal ignorance. Are you referring to court orders under Rule 6E that prohibit you from releasing grand jury testimony? The specific legal reference. Rule 6E was a precision strike. Raskin was demonstrating superior knowledge of federal criminal procedure, while testing whether Patel actually understood the law he claimed restricted him. Patel's response revealed dangerous legal ignorance. That's part of it, really. Raskin shot back with prosecutorial precision. What other evidence do those 3 court orders you mentioned prohibit from being released? At 3:48 and 17 seconds p.m., 3 minutes into his destruction, Patel attempted bureaucratic deflection that would prove catastrophic against Raskin's legal expertise. This is information that was collected pursuant to search warrants which were limited in scope. Wrong. Raskin declared with the authority of someone who had actually prosecuted federal cases. That's not what the court order says, and that's not under 6E. The direct contradiction. Wrong hit the chamber like a legal sledgehammer. Raskin wasn't engaging in political rhetoric. He was providing federal criminal procedure education to someone who clearly didn't understand the law. Patel's attempt at recovery revealed deeper legal ignorance. I said 6E, and I said there are others, and I'm responding that there are sealed court order documents. There are protective orders unsealed as part of discovery given to Ghislaine Maxwell. Raskin countered with devastating precision. They're no longer sealed. At 3:49 and 22 seconds p.m., 4 minutes into his systematic destruction, Patel made the condescending mistake that would trigger his complete professional obliteration. Sir, do you know how court orders work? Do you know how protective orders work? The patronizing question to someone with superior legal qualifications was prosecutorial suicide. Patel had just condescended to a federal prosecutor about federal criminal procedure. At 3:49 and 28 seconds p.m., exactly 6 seconds after his condescending question, Raskin delivered the response that would end Patel's credibility forever. Actually, Mr. Patel, I was a prosecutor 10 years as a real prosecutor. I know exactly how legal procedure works. The credential revelation hit Patel like a constitutional earthquake. His assumption about Raskin's qualifications had been catastrophically wrong. He had condescended to someone whose prosecutorial experience far exceeded his own. But Raskin wasn't finished with his legal destruction. He had prepared a systematic dismantling that would expose every aspect of Patel's institutional deception. At 3:49 and 35 seconds p.m., exactly 7 seconds after revealing his prosecutorial background, Patel made the comment that would become the most catastrophic admission in FBI history. So, I was a fake prosecutor, and I want to understand what's preventing you from releasing witness. Statements taken by the FBI. The fake prosecutor comment was a complete disaster. Patel had essentially admitted that Raskin's qualifications were superior while attempting a desperate personal attack that only highlighted his own inadequacy. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs as committee members processed what they had witnessed. CNN broke into regular programming with breaking. FBI director calls federal prosecutor real while admitting he was fake. Twitter exploded with number didn't hear you trending alongside number real prosecutor and number fake prosecutor. But Raskin had saved his most systematic legal destruction for his closing assault on Patel's institutional stonewalling. Let's talk about FD 302 seconds witness interviews. Raskin continued with prosecutorial precision. These aren't subject to court order. They're not subject to the fictitious sealed order for search warrants. Why aren't you releasing these? Redacting the names of victims. The FD 302 reference demonstrated Raskin's superior knowledge of FBI procedures while exposing another layer of Patel's legal deception. Witness interview summaries weren't covered by the same restrictions as grand jury material. Patel's response revealed the bankruptcy of his position. We're releasing what we're legally allowed to. How is this not legally allowed? Raskin pressed with the intensity of a federal prosecutor closing a case. At 3:51 and 15 seconds p.m., exactly 6 minutes after his I didn't hear you, stalling Patel faced the final question that would complete his systematic legal obliteration. Why don't you go to court to unseal these records like you did for grand jury testimony? Patel's weak deflection. Doge went to court. No, not for those records. Raskin corrected with devastating finality. Why don't you go? You went for grand jury. At 3:51 and 45 seconds p.m., exactly 6 minutes and 22 seconds after his initial stonewalling, Raskin delivered the accusation that would define Patel's legacy. You're hiding the Epstein files. The systematic legal destruction was complete. Raskin had used prosecutorial questioning techniques to expose Patel's "I didn't hear you" stalling as obvious deception, demonstrated superior knowledge of federal criminal procedure, forced Patel to admit his qualifications were inferior, and proven that the FBI was choosing to hide evidence rather than being legally required to do so. Within minutes, legal experts across every network confirmed Raskin's analysis. What Congressman Raskin demonstrated, explained former federal prosecutor Joyce Vance, was perfect prosecutorial technique applied to institutional stonewalling. Every legal point he made was completely accurate. Constitutional scholars noted the broader significance of Patel's destruction. When an FBI director resorts to claiming he can't hear simple questions, observed Professor Lawrence Tribe, it represents institutional acknowledgement that the truth cannot withstand scrutiny. As evening news programs led with Patel's humiliation, former federal prosecutors universally praised Raskin's systematic approach. This was prosecutorial cross-examination at its finest, noted former Southern District Prosecutor Pitt Barrara. Simple questions, superior legal knowledge, and systematic destruction of evasive testimony. That evening, as America processed the most explosive FBI accountability moment in modern history, federal agents privately expressed embarrassment that their director had been so thoroughly outclassed by someone with superior prosecutorial credentials. Justice Department officials noted that Raskin's legal analysis was completely accurate, with several federal courts having ruled that the type of evidence Patel claimed was restricted could indeed be released with proper redactions. Within 48 hours, 3 former FBI directors published a joint statement calling for transparency in the Epstein investigation, citing the legal arguments Raskin had presented as constitutionally sound. 6 months later, as federal courts ordered the release of additional Epstein materials using reasoning similar to Raskin's arguments, legal scholars credited the Maryland congressman's prosecutorial expertise as the moment when systematic legal analysis finally overcame institutional stonewalling. The 6 minutes that obliterated Kash Patel became a case study in how prosecutorial experience, when properly deployed, could destroy institutional deception through systematic legal questioning that made evasion impossible. Sometimes the strongest weapon against government stonewalling isn't political rhetoric or partisan investigation. It's prosecutorial precision applied by someone whose legal qualifications exceed those of the officials they're questioning and who understands exactly how federal law enforcement should actually operate. What happens when institutional lying meets prosecutorial expertise? Can government deception serve when federal criminal procedure knowledge exposes legal ignorance? Kash Patel learned these lessons when 6 minutes of systematic questioning proved that some truths are too legal to hide and some qualifications too substantial to fake. If this prosecutorial accountability restored your faith in legal expertise over institutional deception, don't just watch, like, share, and subscribe to our channel where real prosecutors expose fake legal claims and systematic questioning destroys government stonewalling. Hit bell. The next official might try the "I didn't hear you" defense. What would you do if an FBI director claimed he couldn't hear your simple questions?